Nearly 5 meters EU citizens have applied to stay in the UK after Brexit, but where are they from? Just under 5 million European Union citizens have now registered to stay in the UK, according to government data, as the deadline for claiming settlement in post-Brexit Britain edges closer. More applications are expected to come in before the EU settlement scheme, the UK's mechanism for European citizens to claim settlement, is wound up on June the 30th. But according to the data, which run up until the end of 2020, around 4.49 million of the 4.88 million applicants have already had their cases processed. So far, around 54% have been offered settled status. More than 2.4 million EU citizens. Nearly 2 million more were granted pre-settled status, giving them limited leave to stay as they have not yet been in the UK for 5 years. It also means, unlike their settled counterparts, that if their child is born in the UK post-Brexit, the baby won't be entitled to British citizenship until they pass the 5-year residency threshold. And while most EU citizens have been allowed to remain under the scheme, the government refused 33,700 people's requests, declaring a further 49,000 applications invalid. Who's applying? The Home Office also released more detailed data on the demographics of those applying, showing which nationalities, age groups, and UK regions had recorded the highest number of requests. According to figures prior to the end of September 2020, the highest numbers of people wanting to stay in the UK came from Poland, Romania, Italy, Portugal and Spain. Together, these top 5 nationalities made up around 60% of applications. The data also show that Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland were more likely to grant settled status to applicants than English authorities, although more than 90% of applications were in England. Nearly 15% of the applications were made for people under the age of 18, while just 2% came from those aged 65 and over. Most applications came from the multicultural London region, which accounted for 7 of the top 10 local authorities with the highest numbers. Birmingham, Leicester and Manchester were the only other cities in the top tier. In terms of which local areas saw the highest percentage of a particular nationality, the northern English city of Wakefield recorded the highest proportion of applications from Polish nationals, who made up 51% of its application. While in the town of Harrow on the outskirts of London, Romanians topped the list, making up 57% of applications. Incentives to leave. The data come as a post-Brexit Britain readies to test its new points-based immigration system, but before the scheme comes into its own, the Conservative government appears to be encouraging as many EU nationals to leave as it can. From January 1, 2021, the UK government added EU citizens to its voluntary returns scheme, which means they are offered up to £2,000, $2,738 resettlement money, and their flights paid as an encouragement to leave the UK. There are fears the decision may help target some of the most vulnerable EU citizens, many of whom are yet to resolve their status, while a report from the UK's Joint Council for the Welfare of Immigrants warned that thousands of European key workers could lose their legal right to stay in the UK. According to the document, titled When the Clapping Stops, EU care workers after Brexit, 1 in 7 care workers surveyed was unsure what that EU settlement scheme was, with 1 in 3 not knowing there was a deadline, or when it was. The Council added that European workers in UK sectors with low pay, poor conditions and insecure contracts such as care work, agriculture and construction were especially at risk of missing out on the scheme and therefore having to leave the UK. If even a tiny fraction of the estimated EEA plus EU, EEA and Swiss residents are unable to apply in time, tens of thousands will lose their status overnight, the report stated. Without urgent action, the care sector is likely to be devastated. Staying in the UK, if you are from the EU. You usually need to apply to stay in the UK if you are from a country in the EU, European Economic Area, EEA, or Switzerland. Another country and you are the family member of someone who is from the EU, EEA or Switzerland. The EEA includes EU countries and Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein. You can apply for pre-settled statuses or settled statuses under the EU settlement scheme. You might also be able to apply for British citizenship, but it's a good idea to apply for pre-settled or settled status too. It's faster and it's free. It's worth applying to stay in the UK now. After 30 June 2021 you might be asked to prove your right to do things like get a job or use the NHS. Once you've got either settled or pre-settled status, you will have a right to stay in the UK work study use the NHS claim benefits, including the state pension rent a home. If you're a British or Irish citizen, you don't need to apply to stay in the UK. If you have family members who aren't British or Irish, you can check if your family can stay in the UK. Check what you need to apply for. What you need to apply for depends on how long you've lived in the UK and if you've applied to stay in the UK before. If you've lived in the UK for less than 5 years, you should apply to the EU settlement scheme for pre-settled status. To get it, you'll need to prove you've lived in the UK for at least 1 day, that was both on or before 31 December 2020 in the 6 months before you applied. If you get pre-settled status, you can live and work in the UK for up to 5 years. After you've lived in the UK for 5 years, you should apply for settled status to stay for longer. You can spend up to 2 years outside the UK without losing your pre-settled status. But, if you want to apply for settled status later, you need to have lived in the UK for 5 years in ROW. Prove that you lived in the UK for 6 months out of every 12 months during the 5 years. The 5 years can include time before you got pre-settled status. If you've lived in the UK for 5 years or more, you should either apply to the EU settlement scheme for settled status or for British citizenship. If you get settled status, you can live and work in the UK for as long as you live outside the UK for up to 5 years in a row without losing your status. 4 years if you SWISS bring your family to live in the UK. Might also find it easier to apply for British citizenship if you have settled status. Find out what you need to apply for settled status. You have more rights if you become a British citizen, but you might have to give up your current nationality. You need to pay to apply for British citizenship. Decide if British citizenship is right for you. Claiming benefits and getting help with housing. You have the right to apply for benefits or help with housing from your local council if you have settled status or pre-settled status. If you have pre-settled status, it's easier to get benefits and housing help if you have another right to reside. This depends on things like your work and family. If you don't have settled status or pre-settled status yet, you might still be able to claim benefits or get housing help. You must have been in the UK with a right to reside on 31 December 2020. You can check if you have a right to reside for benefits and check if you have a right to reside for housing. After 30 June 2021, you'll usually need to have pre-settled or settled status to keep getting some benefits like universal credit, pension credit and child benefit. Keep getting housing help from your local council. Talk to an advisor if you're worried about claiming benefits and getting help with housing. Keeping your family in the UK after Brexit. If you're an EU, EEA or Swiss citizen, your family might be able to apply for pre-settled or settled status from the EU settlement scheme. Your family members might be able to apply to the scheme if you started living in the UK by 31 December 2020. It also depends on when they arrived in the UK and how they're related to you. The EEA includes EU countries and also Iceland, Liechtenstein and Norway. If your family members aren't here yet, check if they can come to the UK. If you're a British or Irish citizen, there are some situations when your family members can apply for pre-settled or settled status. Check if your family member can apply. They might be able to apply for pre-settled or settled status. It depends on when they arrived in the UK. Check how your family member should apply. How your family member should apply depends on what citizenship they have and when they arrived in the UK. If your family member is an EU, EEA or Swiss citizen, your family member can apply to the EU settlement scheme now. If they arrived in the UK by 31 December 2020. They arrived in the UK after 31 December 2020 and they have a residence card or a family permit. If they came to the UK as a visitor after 31 December 2020, they'll have to leave and apply to the scheme as a family member from outside the UK. If your family member is a citizen of a country outside the EU, EEA or Switzerland, how your family member applies depends on when they arrived in the UK. If your family member arrived here by 31 December 2020, they can apply for pre-settled or settled status. When they apply, they'll need to prove their relationship to you. If they're your extended family member or long-term partner, they can only apply for pre-settled or settled status if they have a residence card or family permit. If they applied for a residence card or family permit before 1 January 2021, they can apply for pre-settled or settled status when they get their card or permit. Your extended family members are your bullet brothers or sisters bullet aunts or uncles bullet nieces or nephews bullet cousins. If your family member arrived in the UK after 31 December 2020, they can apply for pre-settled or settled status if they entered the UK with bullet, an EA or EU settlement scheme, family permit bullet, residence card bullet, a valid work, study or family visa. If your family member arrived in the UK as a visitor, they must leave the UK and either bullet apply for a family permit. If they don't have a residence card bullet, apply to the EU settlement scheme as a family member from outside the UK. If they have a residence card, your family member can apply for an EU settlement scheme family permit on gov.uk. Proving your family relationship. When your family member applies, they need to prove their relationship to you. If they're either bullet a citizen of a country outside the UEA or SWITZERLAND bullet a citizen of any country, and they arrived after 31 December 2020. If your family member got a residence card before 31 December 2020, they can use this to prove their relationship to you. If they don't have a residence card, the evidence they need to use depends on how they're related to you.